Shalom, shalom, y'all. This is Yao with Hebrew News. Let's get it started. Shalom, shalom, everybody. I hope that everyone is blessed. I want to talk up a little bit closer to the mic so that everybody can hear me. Shalom, shalom. This is Yao, and we are reporting with Hebrew News. As you can see in the title here, or in the YouTube box here, that we are going into a subject that is near and dear to us here at Hebrew News, that our brothers and sisters are being killed in America in many different ways, in many different avenues, but in one avenue is by the police. So we want to make sure that we know out there that we need to watch our backs and move with, and not be complacent, move with a sense of urgency when we are in America. So let's get into this, you guys.
A mystery on Bell Mountain. The bodies of twin brothers found in Towns County near the North Carolina line, 90 miles from their home in Lawrenceville.
Hope
the
everybody
GBI
can hear
initially
this.
investigating this as a murder-suicide, but tonight the family says they're not buying it. 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn spoke with them just a few hours ago. He's live for us in our newsroom with more on this investigation and what the family has to say. Cody.
Well, Jennifer, the brothers Qaadir and Nasir Lewis were twins. The GBI says a hiker found their bodies at the top of Bell Mountain on Saturday morning. Both had been shot. The family couldn't believe it when they got the call hours later, knowing the twin brothers were supposed to be in Boston visiting friends.
All right, so you have two twin boys that were young Hebrew men, black men, that were supposed to be on a flight into Boston, but missed the flight and end up dead on top of a mountain in a place called Hiwassee, Georgia. And so this is 90 miles away from where they live. Were they catching the flight in the place where they lived? I'm not sure about that, but either way it goes, they were somehow transported, or they traveled to this mountain called Bell Mountain on the outskirts of the northern border of Georgia. And they were found there killed with gunshot wounds, and what I'm assuming to be execution-style gunshot wounds. Now, do you think this is a murder-suicide, you guys? Does it sound like twin boys would kill one another? Do you see what I'm saying? Is this something that makes sense? Let's keep going.
We want answers. We want to know exactly what happened to the twins.
Nasir and Qaadir Lewis,
Those my nephews.
just a few weeks shy of their 20th birthday.
I can get past
Young
it. They're
men.
gone.
The twins' uncle, Raheem Bronner,
They're very protective of each other. They love each other. They're like inseparable. So I couldn't imagine them hurting each other because I never even seen them get into a fist fight before.
the GBI saying their preliminary investigation points to the twins' death being a murder-suicide.
We knew right away that wasn't true.
Family says the twins had a 7 a.m. flight to Boston last Friday.
Right there, we never heard from them. They missed their flight. We don't know what happened.
24 hours later, the twins' body found 90 miles away.
How they end?
And so we see here that, they were scheduled to be on a flight on Friday, but their bodies were not found until Saturday. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? And so and when we look at these particular murders, when we look at these strange occurrences, we know that the history of the scripture says that there will be people that will be wanting to live in the wicked spiritual world. And living in the wicked spiritual world, you have entities that require sacrifice. And so what we're looking at, guys, and what we don't know about America that is going on behind the scenes, is that there is an evil group of people embedded into the police department, embedded into the political framework of society, embedded into the judicial framework of society, lawyers, judges, doctors, that there is an underground secret group that are satanic in nature and have ties into fraternities, have ties into sororities, have ties into networks like the Freemasons and the Eastern Stars, and then also have ties into every police department in the country, you guys. And so when we see things like this, where the evidence presented doesn't make sense, we know that it must be because the people investigating are the people that are committing the crimes, you guys. Let's keep watching.
And out in the mountains, they don't hike out there. They've never even been out there. They don't know nothing about Hiwassee, Georgia. They never even heard of Bell Mountains.
Do you see what I'm saying?
So how did they end up right there?
A mystery this family is trying to solve.
They had a huge support system. Like, we know them that they wouldn't do anything like this. So to say that they did this to each other when they come from a family of love, and they love each other, they always together, we don't believe that. They didn't do this to each other. Something happened in those mountains, and we want answers.
I did reach out to the GBI tonight. A spokesperson says the twins' autopsies is finished, but they're awaiting additional forensic testing to be finished, as well as the investigation portion of this, before they issue a final ruling on the brothers' causes of death.
Okay, so that's a strange thing to say, right? Initially, they assessed that the brothers were killed in a murder-suicide.
Aim to safeguard your online business.
My apologies, you guys. Initially, they had said that the twin boys' deaths were ruled initially a murder-suicide. And when that didn't work out, now it seems like they are waiting on conclusive evidence to point towards a murder-suicide for the. But we know that twin boys didn't do this to one another. We know that they didn't drive all the way out to the mountains to kill one another. It's just a nonsensical concept to float as the answer to this quote-unquote mystery. The reason why it's a mystery is because the police did this, you guys, to try to give a murder-suicide cover-up, because that's what it is, a cover-up, to try to give murder-suicide as the cause of this scene from when the hiker found the bodies, to say that it's murder-suicide, and there's no suicidal ideology in either boy's history. There's no animosity between the two boys at all. The boys were going on a trip, missed the trip, and then have no way to get all the way out to the top of this mountain, and then no way to kill one another. Do you see what I'm saying? No real gun, no evidence of any weapons or anything like that, is nonsensical. And there's no reason why GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, I believe this is a federal agency, and the highest federal agency in Georgia, or the highest, maybe the highest state agency in Georgia, is the GBI is federal, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But for a high-level investigative branch or investigative organization to release such nonsense about the cause of death for these two boys means that they are involved. It means that they are part of whatever cover-up is going on to hide what really happened to these boys. And what that means is that this was a police officer killing. And so now we don't have any other direct evidence to say, okay, well, we've got the police officers on video, or we've seen them, talking to some officers, or anything like that. But we don't have that. But what we do have is that the cause of death is so ridiculous and so clearly designed to throw guilt onto the victims and not to shine light on the suspiciousness of the situation. It has to be a cover-up. It has to be them covering for the killers. And the only reason the police would cover for the killers is if the police were the killers themselves, you guys, or affiliated with the killers. And so this points directly at the investigative group that is calling the shots here. That means, and here's the other thing about it, what about the location? Whoever committed this crime knew the location to go to be able to get away with it or to do it, kill these two boys in secret, to be completely camouflaged. They took them up to a place called Bell Mountain, which is remote and rural in Georgia. You're talking about people, police officers, who have access to information about where they can go that won't be monitored. This has police murder written all over it, and then for it to be, for the excuse to be that it's a murder-suicide, tells you that this is, the MO for police murders. The MO for police murders is that it's a suicide. Do you understand what I'm saying? People get suicided by police assassins. This is the way it works, you guys. And we don't fear, because we understand that Yahweh, our Creator, is with our people. And the things that are happening to our people now have been prophesied to happen. So if we are killed for this information, or while we're, in Babylon, then this is what is prophesied to happen already. We're actually looking at prophecy coming to pass. And I do want to show you guys that in text, that this is the nature of our relationship in Babylon. So let's go to Revelation chapter 18. And I do want to go to verse 21. 21 is where it starts, I believe. But we'll just check this out. We'll just look at the entire thing, and then we'll So let's go down to verse 23. It says, "In the light of a candle." This is Revelation 18, by the way. The whole thing is Babylon is fallen. We know Revelation 18 for we're here in verse 4. It says, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye may not be partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues." It's very important, you guys. The reason why we are to come out of Babylon is so that we do not partake in the sin of Babylon. We know Babylon is the heart of sin, that all the different styles of sin that are coming out right now are coming out from Babylon, from America. The second thing is, "And that ye receive not of her plagues." We know that in Egypt, that the plagues that came upon the Egyptians weren't the same as the things that happened to Israel. We know that some of the plagues came on Israel, but until I believe it was the third or the fourth plague when the differentiation began to show in the target of the plagues. And these particular plagues were not affecting the Israelites, and we can go there to take a look. But let's save that for another day. But the reason why we come out of Babylon is so that we do not fall victim of the plagues of Babylon. If our people hadn't have put the blood over the door as we were commanded in the time of the Passover, in the time of when the angel of death came over the entire land of Egypt, that our children our firstborn would have died too. So we listen to the command that says we receive not of her plagues, because right now there are plagues going on in America that are dedicated to us. There are plagues going on in America. We know that there's a plague going on that hit the entire nation of America. And then there also the world. A few years ago, of course, we know what that is. And here in West Africa, it wasn't, such a big deal. It wasn't as devastating of a plague as it was all over the rest of the world. This is supposedly a big mystery in Africa. Why didn't this particular plague harm in Africa? Because there wasn't as many vaccinations in Africa. But that's why, right? That's why, because there wasn't as many vaccinations in Africa. So this is the plague. You know that the virus and vaccination both are the plague. So let's just skip down. Let's skip down here. It says in verse 23, "And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived, you guys. Is it talking about the propaganda that's on television? I think so, you guys. It says, "And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth." So you have to recognize that in Babylon was found the blood of prophets. That's the Israelites, a specific group of Israelites, and of saints. This is the other portion of Israelites, and of all that were slain upon the earth. So we know that there is a underground mechanism in Babylon that spills the blood of the prophets, the blood of the saints. Who are the saints, you guys? The saints are the Israelites. So maybe you guys aren't aware that the saints are the Israelites. Let's go to the book of Psalms. I believe it's 147. Let's try Psalms 147. If it's not 147, let's try 148. Okay. Let's try 148. This is it right here. It says, "Let us praise the name of Yahweh, for his name alone is excellent. His glory is above the heaven and earth. He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him." So we know that the Bible defines itself. And so this right here lets us know that the saints are the children of Israel. We know in the scripture it also describes the saints as being believers too. But these saints right here that is talking about in the scripture, the prophets and the saints, are the children of Israel, you guys. So we know that for a fact, that in Revelation, it describes a prophetic situation as to where there is a mechanism in Babylon that is spilling the blood of prophets, of saints, of all men, but particularly from a specific group of people, the Israelite people. Do you understand what I'm saying, you guys? So that's why we have to pay very close attention when we see things like this, because we must recognize
A mystery
that this
on
is
Bell.
proof that things like this are proofs of how the mechanism works, you guys, and that the scriptures are coming to pass right before our eyes, and that we do need to do something about it. So when we look at the way this works, we don't understand that it works in an underground fashion, you guys. We don't understand how this underground group of people operates. We only see the outcome, the conclusion of the things that happen from the operations. So you have to understand that this group that is behind the scenes is not only, like neo-Nazi, skinhead, Aryan Nation people, Proud Boys people that are, scattered throughout all levels of government, all levels of policing, all levels of law enforcement in general, whether it be governmental or state or county, but that also they have a satanic approach that they worship in ritualistic fashion. And that in those rituals, you guys, in those rituals, some of them require human sacrifices. This has gone on for much longer than there's been in America, and we are a little bit naive to think that it wouldn't continue to go on in the same spiritual fashion that it did in ancient times too. So when we look at these events happening, in order to identify the things that are happening, we also have to look at the day that this happened. See, this happened on, and this is one day ago that this was released, but this happened on last Saturday, which would be March the 15th, known as the Ides of March, you guys. This is a very special day on the pagan calendar because this was the day that Julius Caesar was killed, you guys. And check this out. The way that it works is that the Romans themselves celebrated March 15th as a holiday, and even the you guys, even the murder of Julius Caesar on this day was taken as a let's look at it right here. That this murder was done, it says, as a religious sacrifice. It says Suetonius and the historian Cassius Dio characterized the slaughter, and this is of Julius Caesar, as a religious sacrifice, noting that it occurred on the Ides of March at the new altar to the deified Julius. So he's saying that he was murdered on the altar that said that he was a god. And so what else leads us to this understanding, you guys? What else leads us to know that this was a sacrifice, and it was a Roman style sacrifice? This is the way we know how, because, let's see, of Romulus and Remus. Do you guys know who Romulus and Remus are? The twin brothers who founded Rome. These are the twin brothers who were supposedly raised by a wolf and then were raised up to be warriors, and then founded Rome. And so the Romans were the same people that celebrated the Ides of March, you guys. So there are two, I guess you could say, points of reference in this particular murder that point towards this being a ritualistic thing that the cops were involved with. The fact that these boys were twins means that this was planned, you guys. This is how an investigation works. That you have to understand the characters at play and the MO. In any forensic, not forensic necessarily, but in any sort of, I guess you could say, profiling of a murderer or murderer, you have to come up with the MO, the way that the murderer operates. Anytime that they have a serial killer or a person who is, let's just say like a bank robber. This bank robber comes in, and if he uses a mask that's like a skeleton face, if he uses an AK-47, the first thing he does is incapacitates the security guard, and then he passes a note to the main teller, that means that this is his calling card. This is the way that he does it every single time. So when you see these aspects that show up, oh, well, here's the note, here's the tied up security guard, whether you have video or not, whether you have, know what, there's the mask on the video. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you may not be able to identify his face, but you identify the calling cards of what this particular criminal does in order to say, okay, well, he hit this bank in this city, and this bank in this city, and this one in this city. He must be moving in a line from east to west. Let's see if we can go and anticipate his movements based on the things that he's done. So this is how an investigation works. And we know that the that the most likely suspect in these, mysterious deaths and killings that, don't have any, real explanation to them, that are just strange, we know that the people that can move inside the system and release information to the press that can throw someone off of the trail are the police. We know that the police have, access to airport security. We know that, transporting bodies in a police car would be undetectable because nobody is going to pull over the police car to check to see if there's any bodies in there. Do you see what I'm saying? We know that the police would have access to all of the national park information to know, or I say national park, but local park information to know where you can go to get away with certain things. Do you see what I'm saying? So those instances of reference that we have in this story already point to the police. The fact that it's done with twins and on the Ides of March point to it being associated with a cult. And this particular cult is a Roman-style cult because they're showing Roman characteristics in the ritual. Do you see what I'm saying? So these two things, these two different aspects of reference, let us know who's involved really and what they are, what they're doing, you guys. And so this is not a new thing. This goes back a very, very long time to have this underground network of people that would, use excuse and use their power to kidnap and murder people of the lower class. In fact, if we go back beyond Rome to ancient Sparta, there was another group of people who we can kind of look at and see how the way that the Spartans treated this group right here, the Helots, and have a very good reference for how we are being treated in America right now. So these Helots were a slave. You guys have seen the movie Sparta. It came out a few years ago. And it's with Leonidas and his 300, and they are holding off with 300 men against the great Persian Empire. We know that the original story of the 300 men comes from 300 men of Gideon. We know that the Greeks were able to probably, more than likely, usurp this story. I believe that the battle really happened, but 300 men, I don't believe that. I think that it was usurped from the story of Gideon and the book of Judges. And so what we know, though, about the Spartans is that they are a war-fighting group, and this movie that came out a little while ago was meant to promote, the European mighty warrior theme. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what really the movie was attempting to portray, was white supremacy. So, but coming from that, the other thing that it portrays is the modern version of these ancient people called the Spartans. And what the Spartans did, or what it does is makes a correlation between the ancient Spartans and the modern Europeans. And what the modern Europeans did, or what the ancient Spartans did, that is similar to what the modern Europeans are doing to us in America, is the story of the Helots. The Helots were a slave class of people that most likely were around in Sparta before the Spartans got there. And then when the Spartans got there, they enslaved them, called the land Sparta, and called these people that were there before Helots. One thing that they would do is that they would get the Helot drunk and parade him through town, and the Helot would be acting a fool and being drunk. And then the Spartans would say, look, this is why you don't want to be a Helot. This is why we're Spartans and they're Helots, because look how they behave. Another thing that they would do, one historian, and I'm reading through this, and it looks like it's been updated, because some of the things that I have read are no longer there in this particular wiki article. But the thing that they used to do to the Helots was that, or one thing that they used to do to them was sneak into their villages at night, or in whatever way that they could, Because see, the Spartans, as a warring society, had to always test their warfighting ability, and not only their warfighting ability, but their ability to be stealth. So in a particular group of Spartan soldiers, a high class of Spartan soldiers, the way that they would earn their status in this higher class of Spartan soldiers was to go out and secretly kill a helot, leaving his body somewhere so that he could come back and have infiltrated the enemy area, killed an enemy combatant, or killed an enemy, and then come back unscathed without being killed by the surrounding people or caught by even your own ruling authorities, because you want to be able to have a plausible deniability aspect. Oh, this could have been killed by anybody. You can't say that it was us. Do you see what I'm saying? This was the test of the Spartan warriors, to kill these men in secret, you guys. And this is what we're looking at when we look at how the police department kills black people. This is how the mechanism of murder that is run behind the scenes in the country operates, you guys. The police use their power, their authority, to bend the rules. And, some of it's done with extrajudicial killings that they'd have on the street, that if there's any of a possibility to get away with a murder, that they go ahead and take the liberty to do that. But the other way that they do it is through underground networks of people being able to trick black people into rural areas or just kidnap and then do away with them just how they want. And like you see the people showing up. There was in North Carolina last year, a man who just showed up hung from a tree. He didn't do that to himself. He's not going to hang himself from a tree. This truck driver in North Carolina that supposedly hung himself from the tree because he wouldn't bought a rope. No, you've got the police officers that, this is a truck driver, so truck drivers have to have rope, you guys. You guys don't know that in the transportation field, as a truck driver, in some places, you're required to have rope. So the scenario for, they look up and say, oh, he's at Walmart buying rope, but the scenario is that he parked his truck in a place that is known to be a racist, or owned by the same people that own a racist bar or Klan bar. I can't remember the exact details. But the scene can play out for you very easy, that the parking lot where this semi-trailer is going to have to be, because he's delivering or he's waiting for delivery, he has to go park in this lot. He can't just park at a gas station. He can't just park at a Walmart parking lot. He has to go park in a lot. And so in order to get on the lot, the lot lord would say, hey, in order to park in this lot, you have to have a rope. Okay, I can't let you in until you go get the rope. Okay, he goes and buys the rope, thinking that he needs it to get in, so that it's on camera, him buying a rope. When he comes back, he gets in, and they kidnap him right off of the lot and go somewhere and hang him in a ritual-style murder. Do you understand what I'm saying? The only people that can get away with that are the police, you guys, the people that control the roads, people that can control the areas, so that, they have a guaranteed route of escape, a guaranteed route of transfer. Because if you're kidnapping somebody, you can't just lock them in any old car, lock them in any old trunk. They're going to have to be able to get away unscathed. This is the Spartan style of helot dispatch. And this is what's being implemented in America with Hebrew men. I'm sorry, you guys. Hebrew men in America. We saw it in the Mississippi prison that was, had a prison graveyard in the back of the prison with 215 people, some of which who are missing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Some of which were reported missing, weren't associated with the jail, just reported missing, you guys. They went back and excavated the back of this jail in Mississippi and pulled 215 bodies out and found some people that were missing. There's a mass grave behind a prison in Mississippi full of people who were, some died at the prison, but some of whom were missing. This means the police knew that they could take them back there to that mass grave and leave them there after they killed him. This is clearly police mass murder. And this is what's going on in the country, and we don't know anything about it because it's not reported as such. This is a major institution in the police department to secretly sneak and get away with murdering someone black. Don't doubt it ever in your mind. This is the way that the murder machine that it describes in Revelation 18 operates. And it's not just operating on black people, even though black people are, of course, the main target because we're the Hebrews of the Bible. It's also operating on white people. Do you guys remember the Idaho 4, you guys? The Idaho 4, the four college students in Idaho who were killed by knife. Now, you guys, how do you kill 4 college students at 4 o'clock in the morning by knife with one person? They've got one person as a suspect. How do you do that? How do you kill 4 people in 4 different rooms? I believe it was 3 different rooms. I did research on this a couple years ago when it first started, when it first happened. I think 2 of the people were in the same room, and then the other 2 people were in 2 different rooms. So you had 3 different rooms of crime scene, right? So how does one person with a knife come in and kill 2 people in one room? Do you see what I'm saying? Then go to another room, kill another person, and then go to the last room and kill that last person without waking anybody up, you guys. Again, there was somebody supposedly there while the murders were happening, didn't wake up. Again, there was somebody who reported the murders at noon when the murders supposedly happened in the middle of the night, at 4 o'clock in the morning. There was supposed to be police surveillance, that the entire area was patrolled by police officers, cordoned off by police officers that were there that night. The investigation going in the way that it does. It's very clear that you can't have one person to commit this crime with a knife. So that means that any person who presents that idea that, hey, this is one person that did this crime is involved, you guys, is involved. So anyone that says, hey, that you can kill 4 people in 3 different rooms as one person with a knife without alerting anybody else, without having any problems, without having a struggle, a fight for your life, or being bruised up or any of that, is insane. It's the evidence is overwhelming that it had to have been done with a group. It had to have been done coordinated in a group, that this particular murder had to be coordinated with a group with 3 different sets of people murdering these people at the same time in a ritualistic fashion, you guys. And it has to be the police or the fraternity that's associated with the police that's there because it was reported as something different. That means automatically the people covering the crime are the people responsible. Because what else other reason do they have the cover for it? Unless they're involved, you guys. Unless they're in the same group. We know that it's a ritualistic murder because in that same area in Idaho, about a year earlier, 2 other knife attacks happened. And guess what? They were all on the same day of the month, the 13th, you guys. Again, these days of the month matter to ritualistic killings. So that's when they did, and that's when this one was done, the Idaho one. They were all on the 13th of the month that night. And they're all in the same area, all done by knife. You see what I'm saying? These are clues these are cues of the cult, the satanic cult that requires sacrifice, you guys. So that's what we're looking at here in America. And every single publicized, especially if it gets national news, especially if it involves all of these very strange elements, if it involves celebrities, you guys, that's part of the aspect of the ritual that people know about it. Because, you know, this is the way that occultists think, that they have to promote their sacrifices. Do you see what I'm saying? Some of them they do, some of them they don't, but the most important ones that are held on the big days like the Ides of March, are promoted, you guys, are promoted. And you have to recognize that this is the country that you live in. That's what Babylon does. Now, they do these things all over the world, don't get me wrong, but what you're looking at in Babylon is a systemic, I guess you could say, a mechanism that is in place, that has been in place for years, that is foolproof to allow these things to happen, you guys. That's what we're looking at in America. That's what you're looking at when you're looking at the depth of these twin boys. It's not a mystery. It's the satanic cult in operation, using the police to handle its business, being the police, handling its satanic sacrificial requirement, you guys. And this is what this channel will discuss and expose, and also as we look into the details emerging about this particular investigation, we will revisit this topic, and especially connected to other deaths that are like this, because I'm looking, seeing these things happening very often, and I know that it'll increase during the Trump administration, because this is the energy that he's putting into the environment. The racist neo-Nazi signaling energy that him and Elon Musk are doing is going to make this cult more active for sure. And in public assassinations, in public ritualistic murders, and in private ones, you guys. So we don't fear. We know that Yahweh Elohim of Yisrael has protected us before and will protect us again. But we also have to recognize that this is the time of trouble, you guys. And if you have a way to get out, according to the text, then you will miss some of the plagues, and you will also miss the sins, you guys. So this is Yered Yao, and this is the news. Checking out.